Well, first off, I want to thank everyone for being here today. We certainly feel that we're coming off a very productive and successful training camp where I feel like there's a lot of positive energy and enthusiasm surrounding our program and our players. We certainly invested in doing a lot of the things necessary to take that next step as a program. From a disciplinary standpoint, as it relates to penalties, from a strength and conditioning standpoint, anything involving the betterment of your football team and the way we work fundamentally and technically, schematically, we certainly have spent a lot of time making sure our players understand what we're trying to do, how we're trying to do it, and why we're doing it that way. And so now, as we head into game week, they certainly are eager to get things rolling. And today we jumped full bore in a Bowling Green. And again, had a really good practice and looking forward to getting our pads on tomorrow and going full go.
Questions? Are you Rob?
Just logistically, what is a game week practice schedule going to look like this season?
Sure. Tuesday and Wednesdays are always the heavy load days, fully padded days where you're working. And we split it up. Tuesday is first and second down football, regular down situation. We may sprinkle a third down or two, but we're not looking to do that until Wednesday. Continuing on Tuesday's practice, we will work short yards and goal line situations. We'll stay in the high red. We won't go deep into the low red zone, but we will end practice with good on good play, meaning ones on ones and twos on twos. We do not want to lose the speed and power aspect of playing against each other. I think sometimes throughout the course of the season, oftentimes teams will make the mistake of not going the ones against the ones, and you lose that aspect of play, technical play, right? Speed. So we'll do that every single day. On Tuesday, we'll do it in the form of team run. We'll do it in the form of just regular team move the field. And then when we move on to Wednesday's practice will consist of third down play, heavy pressure day. A lot of our gap schemes will be used. The high red, the middle red, the low red, which we call the gold zone. Short yards and goal line, again, will be emphasized. The 7-on-7 periods and the 1-on-1 periods will emphasize work down in the red zone. And certainly we'll try to put our team in situations and circumstances that really challenge them and stuff that we have practiced and the plays and the situations and the answers that they know really well. Aside from that, we'll end the day after having gone against the defense. We'll end the day with a 2-minute drill against the defense as well. Make it a competitive deal to finish off our workload and pads before we head into Thursday's practice, which is more of a mental sweat day, before we head into our Friday, which Friday is a fast Friday, traditionally, which you have seen here at Oregon. The question would be, what do we do on Sunday or Monday? Sunday or Monday, right? You have to have the one day off. It's extensive special teams work, meaning about 25 to 30 minutes on all phases of special teams. And not only the schematic part, but the fundamentals. Because as the year goes on and your practices, they are what they are, you only have a certain amount of time. It's really hard to keep up with your fundamentals and make sure that they're polished and that they're sharp. So we use that Sunday or Monday practice, whatever day. It depends on what time we come back from a road game. We use that to really shore up our fundamentals on our special teams, in our passing and protection game, as well as our pass rush game. And then we'll work some of the high red stuff. We'll work some of the 7-on-7 and some of the shorter sides of the field, and invest a little bit in short yards and goal line without pads. So, but overall, what we do is really get ahead on our opponent, give our guys a really good feel for what they do, and make sure they're prepared to put on the pads on Tuesday.
Right, on the front.
Mario, you have 6 oars on your depth chart, 3 at offensive line, 1 at tight end. Does that kind of speak to those 2 position groups in the competition you had there? Good sign.
Sir. Yes, sir. They deserve it. They deserve a chance to compete throughout the course of the week. The message to our players was this whole thing about playing time, it's really about trust. Earning the trust of your teammates, earning the trust of your coaches, trusting in yourself, understanding what it means to be a Power 5 full-time player. Not a guy that just contributes, but a guy that can really take the stage as a starter. So we feel we have multiple positions where guys are really almost co-starters. And if they've earned it, we're going to let them play it out throughout the course of the week. And if they've earned playing time and they're not a starter, they're certainly going to play football for us. And we expect them to play winning football. So that's why you see, a good chunk of oars on there. And we're still playing at the offensive line position because between Throckmorton and Sewell, and then, of course, George Moore, a yellow, Capra's bounced out there as well. You've had a really good amount of competition with guys swinging to both sides. So we have to make sure we find the best combinations. And we feel pretty confident we're going to have that set by Thursday, Friday.
Front right, Tyson.
From where he started camp, not being able to go full go to where he is now, where do you see kind of Tabari at? Yeah, I see him behind Jalen on here, but just is he kind of in full sync with this offense at this point?
Well, I think whenever you miss that much at camp, it's hard to put someone in any other position except where Tabari is right now. You could tell he's a really good football player. He's getting his legs back underneath him. He's starting to feel healthier. So we feel he's going to be a big-time player for us, as is Jalen. Jalen has had a great camp. So, if we had another way to kind of posture this depth chart, you would see the different personnel groupings, and you'll see that the guys that are listed as a 2 in this particular personnel grouping would actually be a 1 in some of the 4 wide stuff or 5 wide stuff. So I think there's plenty of opportunity for him and some of the other guys that's not reflected in this particular depth chart. But overall, we're very pleased with him, and even more so with the type of person he is. He's a really good teammate. He's an excellent competitor, but he's very encouraging. He pushes himself. He pushes his teammates. He's been a really good kind of calming, I'd hate to say older guy. I mean, these guys, when they're veterans, are like 21 years old, but he's had a very positive effect in that room and on our locker room.
Right, second row, right.
Coach, you got a couple true freshmen, looks like, on the depth chart. As far as, you got Jackson, McKinley, and Holland. What have they done to really impress you and kind of earn that spot, I guess?
They're natural football players. They're explosive. They're instinctive. They have shown the ability to learn and to process, because obviously they're in a whole new world. This is a whole new regimen, a whole new defensive scheme for them, and they've taken it well. And I wouldn't say they're autocorrect guys, but they're one correction guys, maybe 2 at most, right? But they have the ability to really assess, to analyze, process quickly, and instantaneously react. And to be a good defensive player, you must be able to do that. Verone got here early, and a tribute to him. He must have weighed, I don't know if the scale even registered how light he was, but he was really light. And through our nutritionist and his hard work and our strength and conditioning staff, he is filled out, and you've seen out there in practice, the guy's played a tremendous factor as a corner, as a nickel. I mean, he's done it all for us. So we expect some really big things from him. But it goes across the board. A freshman, we kind of, the name tag, the year that goes with it, where he's from, it's always going to be irrelevant, right? That always hard work, doing things the right way will always transcend all those lines and perceptions. We're going to get guys ready to play, regardless of what year they are, and we certainly have a more than a handful of guys that are going to be ready to play on Saturday.
Second row on the left right here, Eric.
Yeah, Coach, it looks like you've got at running back Tony Brooks-James at top, and then situational listen to afterwards. Does that mean that it's basically a tie for the other 4 guys, or kind of how does that play out?
They all deserve to play, and it's been a tough, I would say, not a decision, but the way we run the offense is as fast and high tempo as we are. We expect to get a lot of plays, 85, 90, 95 plays a game. So they're all going to get their touches. TBJ certainly has put in a bunch of time and effort into becoming more of a complete running back. We've all seen through the years now, he has flashed some greatness, and he's worked on the stuff that he knows he wants to get better at, that we need him to get better at. And so when we come out and we come off the sideline, he deserves to be the first running back out there. But those other guys deserve to play as well, and they're going to play. They've all shown some type of unique, I would say they add a different aspect to our offense. You've seen the way that CJ gets downhill, the way Travis could jump cut and split a defense in a hurry. Cyrus has played big ball for us. Taj has played big ball for us, and Darren Felix, coming back now after being banged up for a little bit. He's a special athlete that has done, over the past 3 days, has looked great. So we're going to play those guys. They're all involved on special teams as well. Our team trusts them. Our quarterback, our line trusts them. So we can expect them to all receive some playing time.
Back right, Andrew.
Coach, when you first came in at the beginning of fall camp, kind of took stock of the players you had, looked at where that 2 deep might kind of shake out. What were some of the biggest surprises for you among guys in fall camp that played themselves into the 1s or played themselves even into the 2s?
It's I wouldn't say surprise, honestly, just because you always want to go clean slate year to year, right? You want to hit that restart button and make sure that everyone gets a fresh start. And as a coach, you have to do that. You have to kind of wipe your memory banks and say, well, this guy could never quite get this scheme. And you have to realize, well, if you didn't get it, it's probably the way we're teaching it or the way we're emphasizing maybe not enough of the right things that go along with that scheme. So, gosh, it's hard to say because so many guys have gotten better. They've improved their physicality. Through their true investment in studying our scheme and spending time in the film room. I mean, you see betterment, gosh, in so many positions. I would say I'm going to mention a couple guys right off the bat that I think deserve some credit. Is my man Maimon as a punter. I mean, he's hard to miss on the field, right? How tall is he? I don't know what he's listed at. He looks like he's 6'6", but you wish you could put his hand in the dirt and let him go run routes as a tight end. I mean, he's a big old dude now, but he's taken a hold of that position, and he has been consistent. He catches the ball well. He gets it off quickly, and he is launching some really effective punts. And even more importantly, last year he had trouble because those things were coming out straight and flat, which puts your team in a compromising situation. He's getting tremendous hang time and ball placement, and he's earned the trust of Bobby Williams and the rest of our special teams staff and the rest of our football staff. Melendez is another one that has been here for a long time, has really fought his way through, and him and Karsten have had a great battle. And they're both going to play. Carson's a little bit bigger. Melendez is not quite as big, but they can both handle, the snapping on punts and on field goals and whatnot. So those guys are worth mentioning because they hardly are mentioned until something goes wrong. So let's take the positive note here and mention them now while they're still flawless until we start the game time. But their hard work has paid off. We're very proud of them.
Front right, Tyson.
Your first game here as Oregon's head coach, you're a heavy favorite. Your first game as the last time as a head coach, you guys were a heavy underdog going into play a top 25 Penn State team. What do you kind of remember about that week as being kind of the underdog in that role, and how have you kind of changed as a coach from that first game the last time to now?
Yeah, well, the first thing is the pants I had in the locker room didn't fit, so I had to go out there in the suit and tie I wore to the stadium, when you travel. And by the time we tried to get everything squared away, I actually had to go out there in my suit to coach the game. And I don't know how many scholarship players we had. I know that it was a team we inherited. It was 0-12. Had those 17 ineligibles, those 25 plus lost scholarships, and it was quite an outfit, right? And I just remember it was Penn State was really good. It was a rough game, but I had to wear the suit. I couldn't change. So long story cut sideways. We get back home, and I have a meeting with some of the higher ups and the administration, the president, and they're like, "Wow, that was awesome, man. USA Today talks about how we pay tribute to Penn State by wearing a suit and tie and honoring the situation." I'm like, wow, I'm stuck with this suit all year, So that's one of the things I remember most about that game. But also is just the caliber of everything. It's such a different program, administration, personnel, history. Everything that you see here and that we've had the fortunate privilege to be a part of just speaks of, hey, we want to be on that track and that collision course with being a championship program, year after year after year. That was first game. There was a lot of things, right? There was a lot of things that were hard to, I would say, figure out, right? Especially with that type of personnel. And I think the biggest difference is just the experience from those 6 years experience at Alabama, the organizational ways that we have now as it relates to every aspect of the game, our eye discipline for every single coach, our assignments on game day as it relates to every phase. Every coach has their eyes on 2 players on the field at a time while we're punting, while we're receiving a kick, when the defense is on the field or the offense. Our way of, our methods of communication, our way of substituting, our schematic approach to this game and everything that we do, it's just so far advanced to what that was back then. It's let's just say saying it's a different feeling is the understatement of the year.
Right side middle, Ashley.
Better to be overdressed than underdressed, right?
I'll tell you what, not that time, because I was stuck when in 99-degree weather wearing that coat and tie every single week, and that wasn't pleasant. And the dry cleaning bill was insane week after week. But
How unique can this offense be this season? I feel like we're hearing some different philosophies. You know, you're preaching physicality. Coach Mastro's got one of the quickest running backs in the country. Coach Arroyo's play calling. How unique and how special can this offense be this season?
Well, either way, you got to play to the strengths of your team. And we know we have a really, have an excellent quarterback. We have a strong offensive line. We have backs that could get downhill and run around you. We have big, powerful tight ends that could stretch the field, and we feel really good about our wide receiver core. So the most important thing we do is have balance, okay? Make sure that people can zero in on what we're doing and know what we're going to do. Be less predictable. Make sure that we're using our personnel efficiently, and we have to make sure we keep track of our guys getting the football, our playmakers. We must have a plan that incorporates and uses our best players to the best of their ability and be able to make adjustments. I think the best part about the way that we've approached our offensive game planning is that our offense is built with answers. Okay, our players are familiar with those answers. So if play A is not working due to a particular pressure, the answer is play B, and we've worked that already. And our quarterback is able to get us into play B because of his knowledge of the game and his advanced knowledge of protections and the running game and whatnot. So we feel strongly about it. At the same time, it's a very humble approach. Certainly no one's talking about accolades, preseason accolades, watch lists, and all that stuff. It's pointless, and we understand that. I think the best part about what our messaging was today to our players was that our greatest motivation must come through preparation. And we've done all the right things from January up until now to make sure that we are a better football team, that we have a chance to be a better football team. Well, all those things that we did, now there has to be some type of drill transition, right? Program transition from January all the way through now, and that has to transition now to game day. And that's been the focus, to make sure that everything we do is based on true, real factors and not on external motivation, bits and pieces and nuggets. We want to make sure we're a team that does it because we've been trained to do it. We have faith in it, we have belief in it, and we hold each other accountable.
Front left, Matt.
Can you maybe explain the processes of how you scout an opponent without any games being played yet, and then kind of what's stood out from Bowling Green?
Well, Bowling Green, a couple things stood out. Offensively, when they made that quarterback change last year, they started averaging 35 points a game. And mind you, this is an offense that has four of the players up front on their offensive line. They have experience, and they're large. They're really, really big guys. I think they average about 315, 320. So our defensive line is used to our offensive line pushing and whatnot, being big and physical. So I think that's helped us in camp to prepare for that. But where they pose a problem for you is they get the ball down the field in a hurry. They stretch the field. They have a little bit of the air raid mentality, and their receivers can stretch you. They're big. They're tall. They're athletic. They've got good balance and body control, and they've shown that they can make big plays. They have a lot of big play capability. And they do run the ball very well, very effectively in both their inside and outside zone schemes. They like the split zone concept. They come back and they split you with the Y and knock out the edges and sometimes circle you and have the quarterback keep the ball. They do a bunch of things that our guys have seen, but that require a tremendous amount of discipline and physicality at the line of scrimmage. Their running back's a heck of a player as well. I don't know what kind of honor he received. He received some type of accolade this past offseason, but watching him run, he's a difference maker for them. And when you watch them on defense, you got to watch Youngstown State and Coach Pelini and what he's done over there. There's plenty of familiarity with him. Haven't seen him before in the Sun Belt Conference. Very disciplined defense. Their safeties are heavily involved in the run game. Their front is going to move and mix and stunt a lot. They're going to bring all kinds of pressure. They have a very unique and exotic third down package that's going to test your protections, test your quarterbacks. They want you to get rid of the ball quick. Their offense gets rid of the ball really quick. They don't want you near their quarterback. But what you see, what speaks loudly of their defense is they really want to make it happen up front with the way that they move and the way that they use their safeties. Now, two of their best players are their two returning stars at linebacker. Both those guys have racked up an extraordinary amount of tackles, as well as their boundary, their field and boundary safeties. Those guys have done, I think one of them averaged over the past couple of years 85 to 90 tackles. So it gives you an idea of how much they depend on those guys to run the alley and get involved in the run game. And you can't say enough about their corners. If you look at them, they're averaging 6'1", 6'2" in the secondary. So they rely on their length, their athleticism to really disrupt and throw off the passing game and the timing of the passing game. And I know they feel pretty confident about what they have brought into the program. If I recall correctly, their past couple of recruiting classes have been ranked, I think, 2 or 3 in their conference. And they've shown that they're going to play those guys, because everything you read in the offseason shows about how the young guys have earned playing time and some have unseated some of the incumbent starters. So I know they've got a lot of energy in that program, a lot of juice. We have a tremendous amount of respect for them, and we're certainly looking forward to playing them on Saturday.
Second row middle, Jack.
Mario, now that your first fall camp as head coach is wrapping up, how would you assess your own performance specifically, and what's maybe something you learned personally along the way?
Well, the best thing I think we did was we stuck to the plan. It's something that we believe in, that we always constantly research due to there were some changes this year as it relates to the amount of days you have to prepare your football team. So everyone did an extensive amount of research. How are we going to use these 29 days? Because before you had 29 practices. Well, you can't have 29 practices in 29 days if you expect to have a fresh football team. So I think the thing that we did best was communicate and set clear standards for everybody. There was complete clarity in what the expectation was from everybody. And it's really simple. And we echo it to our guys all the time about if we have to have a large old book like this with rules and policies and procedures, we probably have the wrong guys in the locker room, right? We don't try to overcomplicate it. We do things the right way. We do them at max effort all the time with a positive attitude, and we do everything humanly possible to positively affect those around us, our teammates, our coaches. We establish strong relationships with our players. That was a big part of camp, all the team building activities that we did. But we really focus on physicality and the elimination of mental mistakes and penalties. Okay. Now the results with our referees in camp, they were excellent. We certainly made some strides. Well, that's fine. Now we've got to apply that. Again, all the right things were done. All the things that you need to do and focus on and emphasize were. And now it's got to carry over into this week. We have to elevate the way that we practice. We have to elevate the way we prepare for our opponents, because that will result in an elevation of the way that we perform on Saturday. So that's very clear to our players. They understand the standard, and we had a great practice today. We expect even better tomorrow.
All right, Tyson.
Is there a balance you guys are looking to strike between getting Herbert his reps and getting him ready for conference play versus keeping him healthy and getting him to conference play?
Honestly, the only balance we think about is whatever balance necessary to win the football game and play well and improve. That's all we're thinking about doing. All sights, all eyes, all focus on Bowling Green. They have the capabilities of making a lot of big plays. So do we. We respect them as an opponent. Herbert, our running backs, our offensive line, our entire team knows that we have to get better, and we have to take every rep and every single day as if we have everything to prove. And we do. So it's really foot on the gas mentality. We've got to go. We've got to perform well. We've got to be demanding, and we've got to execute, right? And we've got to make sure that we eliminate the little things that hurt us in the past, so we could take that next step as a program.
Right, next one, Ryan.
Mario, obviously a lot's gone on in this program over the last year. Now it's your program. What do you think your emotions will be like at 5 o'clock on Saturday?
Well, I'm one of those guys that are just I'm dialed in to the game and making sure everything is. I won't reflect on that until after the season, and part of me is lying, right? It's of course it's a high emotion situation, and I mean football. For all of us, it's been such a big part of our lives, always will be for so many reasons. So emotions are always going to be high, intensity is always going to be high, but never derailing you or taking you off track from your focus of what you need to do is what's to make sure that this team is completely prepared mentally and physically to make sure we execute at the highest level, and making sure our guys stay focused on that next play. Making sure the sideline has that aura about it where it's all about, not paying attention to the scoreboard, playing as hard as we can, staying relentless, max effort. If a guy gets tired, we'll find somebody else. But making sure all we're doing is either correcting, assisting, pushing, encouraging, motivating, so that our players could have the best chance of success. That's always the biggest thing on game day. Game day is very different than practice. Because practice, I mean, it's loud, it's intense, and it's come game day, the coaches, the intensity's there. Okay, the directives are there, but man, everything is all about just making sure that next play, okay, is executed to the best of our ability. So I don't think I answered your question. I don't think I have an answer for that question. I think I'm a little bit intense. So yeah, no coffee that day, no coffee at all.
Second row on the left. Eric.
When you signed Penne in February, was it with the expectation that he'd have a chance to be a starter this quick? It looks like this is the first offensive line starter as a true freshman since 1997 to start a season.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think all the guys we recruit are of that caliber of talent. He's certainly in the mix right now. He's done a great job. Him, Brady, George, Calvin Throckmorton is a starter, somewhere. He's done it all. He's played them all. But yeah, Penne is that rare combination of power and speed, and he's an intelligent guy. He has a high care factor. He's very detailed. He'll knock you back now. He's really he's been raised the right way. His father coached him, and his father's coached all his family members, and you could tell his DNA is the right kind of stuff you want, not only for your offensive line but for your football team.
Front left, Matt.
How do you envision figuring out who's the backup to Justin? Do you want to play both throughout the season, or do you kind of want to pick one and redshirt the other guy?
We're going to play. We would like to play as many guys that deserve to play as possible, and not really worry about the red shirt rule until it kind of pins us up against the wall a little bit. There's flexibility there, and the amount of games that you can play. We're still going to relate playing time as to who earns it, and figure it out as the season goes on. But we would like to see all three quarterbacks playing.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Guys, thank you very much. Have a good day.